Before he became the most recognized face in the world, he was just a boy from Louisville, with a stolen bicycle and a dream. On a chilly winter day, January 17, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky, a legend was born. His parents named him Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr., unaware that one day the world would come to know him as Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Cassius grew up in the deeply segregated American South, a world split in black and white. Racial discrimination wasn't just something he heard about, it was something he lived. Signs marked whites only, opportunities were limited, and respect had to be fought for. But even as a young boy, Clay was never one to back down. He had a fire in his eyes. He was spirited, sharp-tongued, and unafraid to speak his mind. But it was a simple act of theft that would forever alter his destiny. At the age of 12, his bicycle, a red and white Schwinn, was stolen. Furious and determined, young Cassius reported the theft to a local police officer named Joe Martin. In a burst of anger, he told the officer he wanted to whoop the thief. Joe Martin, who also happened to be a boxing coach at a local gym, gave him a piece of advice that would change everything. Well, you better learn how to fight before you start challenging people. That was all it took. Soon, Clay was training under Martin's watchful eye. He learned how to jab, duck, move, and above all, how to believe in himself. What began as a burst of anger turned into a love for the ring. It wasn't long before he entered his first amateur boxing match in 1954 and won it by split decision. And that was just the beginning. By 1956, he had clinched the Golden Gloves tournament for novices in the light heavyweight class. 3 years later, he was collecting trophies like clockwork, the National Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions, and the Amateur Athletic Union's national title for light heavyweight boxing. But even as he was rising in the ring, school was never quite his thing. Clay attended Central High School in Louisville, a mostly black public school. Teachers remember him for his constant daydreaming and shadow boxing in the halls. While his classmates focused on exams, Clay focused on footwork. He was training for the 1960 Olympics. His grades? Not so great. Some teachers even suggested holding him back, but one man believed in him, Principal Atwood Wilson. When staff discussed the possibility of preventing Clay from graduating, Wilson shut it down with legendary sarcasm. "Do you think I'm going to be the principal of a school that Cassius Clay didn't finish?" It was clear. This boy wasn't just another student. He was on the path to greatness. Cassius Clay didn't just find boxing, boxing found him. And in the heart of the segregated South, a champion was born, not just of fists, but of spirit, conviction, and unshakable confidence. In 1960, a young Cassius Clay stood atop the Olympic podium, gold medal in hand, the American flag raised behind him. But inside, the boy from Louisville knew this was only the beginning. At 18 years old, Cassius Clay had conquered the world stage in Rome, bringing home the Olympic gold medal in the light heavyweight division. Towering at 6 feet 3 inches, with lightning-fast hands and footwork that dazzled, he danced around opponents who couldn't touch him, both literally and figuratively. His victory over Zbigniew Pietrzkowski of Poland was not just a win for the United States. It was a declaration. The world had just witnessed the rise of a new kind of athlete, bold, brash, brilliant. Upon his return, Clay was welcomed as a hero. Headlines praised him, fans cheered him, and his legend began to grow. He soon turned professional with the financial support of the Louisville Sponsoring Group, a team of wealthy businessmen who saw a gold mine in the charismatic young fighter, and fight he did. Opponent after opponent fell as Clay climbed the ranks, not just with fists, but with words. His confidence was electric, his rhymes legendary. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see. But, behind the cocky grin and the glinting gloves, a deeper transformation was already underway. In June 1962, Clay attended a rally in Detroit, where he first met the magnetic minister of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X. The two couldn't have been more different, and yet, they connected instantly. Clay was captivated. Here was a man who spoke without fear, who challenged the world, who saw through the lies of racism and dared to speak truth in front of power. Their bond deepened quickly. Malcolm X became Clay's mentor, his brother, his guide in a new world of black pride, political awareness, and spiritual identity. He even placed a close associate to manage Clay's day-to-day affairs as the young boxer's star began to rise. Then came the biggest fight of Clay's life, February 25, 1964, against the reigning champion, Sonny Liston. No one gave him a chance, but Clay danced, he jabbed, he roared, "I am the greatest. I shook up the world." And he did. That night, after claiming the World Heavyweight Championship, Clay sat in a quiet Miami hotel room with Malcolm X, NFL legend Jim Brown, and soul icon Sam Cooke. They talked about change, power, faith. That night would later become the basis for the acclaimed film, One Night in Miami. The very next morning, the world received another shock. Cassius Clay was no more. "I believe in Allah and in peace. I am proud to be a Muslim," he publicly declared, his allegiance to the Nation of Islam, adopting the name Cassius X before being renamed by Elijah Muhammad himself as Muhammad Ali. The backlash was immediate. Reporters refused to use his new name. Critics accused him of betrayal. But Ali stood firm. "I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be who I want to be." But even as he embraced his new identity, a painful divide opened. Though Malcolm X had been his spiritual gateway, Ali's loyalty shifted to Elijah Muhammad, who had expelled Malcolm from the nation. Despite everything, Ali chose the organization over the man who had brought him to it. By the spring of 1964, Ali and Malcolm's friendship had crumbled, and when Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21, 1965, Ali showed little public remorse. Turning my back on Malcolm was one of the mistakes that I regret most in my life. Muhammad Ali, in his memoir Soul of a Butterfly, 2005. It was a reflection years in the making, a moment of clarity from a man who had become so much more than just a boxer. By the 1970s, Ali's journey took another turn. He left the Nation of Islam, distancing himself from its stricter ideology, and embraced mainstream Sunni Islam, a quieter, more reflective faith. It was no longer about confrontation, but connection with God, peace, and inner growth. The brash boy who once shouted into microphones had become a man who listened, who learned, who admitted his mistakes. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Muhammad Ali, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. Muhammad Ali, 1966, in the prime of his career. A world champion, a global icon, a man at the height of his power, Muhammad Ali stepped into a battle far more dangerous than any opponent in the ring. On April 28, 1967, Ali stood before a military induction center and refused to step forward. His reason: faith. His purpose: principle. "My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some darker people or some poor hungry people in the mud for big powerful America." The decision shook the nation. At a time when most Americans still supported the war in Vietnam, Ali's stand was seen by many as unpatriotic, ungrateful, even treasonous. Critics roared. Sponsors vanished. Headlines branded him a coward. But Ali didn't flinch, and one voice, unexpected but unwavering, rose in his defense. Howard Cosell, the respected sportscaster who had covered Ali since his early days as Cassius Clay, Cosell refused to turn on him. "Muhammad Ali is not afraid of the fight. He never has been. He is standing by his beliefs, and that deserves respect." Yet respect didn't shield him from punishment. Because Ali had admitted he would fight in a holy war, he was denied the status of a conscientious objector, a legal exemption for those opposed to all war on religious grounds. The government saw no legal excuse. Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title and banned from boxing in every U.S. state. His career was frozen in time. On June 20, 1967, he was convicted of draft evasion and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Though he remained free on bail, the sentence loomed over him for 4 long years. While other champions were celebrated, Ali became a symbol of resistance, of black pride, of a new voice rising from America's undercurrent of change. His decision rippled far beyond sports. Unless you have a very good reason to kill, war is wrong. Muhammad Ali in the heat of the civil rights movement. His words echoed louder than any speech. He was more than a boxer. He was a man standing still while the world tried to knock him down. When a figure as heroic and beloved as Muhammad Ali stood up and said, "No, I won't go," it reverberated through the whole society. Julian Bond, civil rights leader, in 1971, the tides finally turned. The United States Supreme Court unanimously overturned his conviction, not on political grounds, but through a narrow procedural technicality. But the damage had already been done. Ali had lost 3.5 years of his athletic prime. Yet, he never lost the respect of a generation that now saw him not just as the greatest in boxing, but perhaps the bravest in life. He stood alone. He paid the price. He inspired millions. Voiceover builds with background music swelling. In a time when America was divided, Muhammad Ali chose a side, not for fame, not for money, but for what he believed was right. His refusal to serve in Vietnam would go down in history as one of the most courageous stands in American sports history. He fought with fists in the ring, but with faith, fire, and fearlessness outside of it. Grainy footage fades into Ali training punching a speed bag. The greatest was down but never out. And in 1970, the world watched as Muhammad Ali laced up his gloves once again. After 3.5 years of exile, the world's most electrifying boxer stepped back into the ring. But something had changed. His once boundless energy, his dancing, legs, dulled, his reflexes, slower. Still the fire in his soul? Unshaken. Ali's comeback began in Atlanta, with victories over Jerry Quarry and Oscar Bonavena. Then, a clash loomed. March 8, 1971, a night that would redefine boxing. 2 undefeated champions, 2 different Americas. In one corner, Joe Frazier, the reigning heavyweight king. In the other, Muhammad Ali, the exiled legend with something to prove. It will be a killer and a chiller and a thriller when I get the gorilla in Manila. But it wasn't Manila. Not yet. That first battle at Madison Square Garden went 15 brutal rounds. And that night, it was Frazier who walked away victorious. Ali's first professional loss. But Ali didn't break. He won 10 straight fights, defeating top contenders, regaining his edge. That momentum led to a fateful night in 1973. A dark horse named Ken Norton did the unthinkable, breaking Ali's jaw and earning a 12-round upset decision. Critics called it the end. Ali called it fuel. He came back. He beat Norton in a rematch. And then he got his revenge on Joe Frazier, winning their second bout. A technical masterpiece, perhaps his best performance post-exile. But Ali wasn't done. A new giant ruled the ring now. George Foreman, the man who destroyed Frazier and looked unstoppable. October 30th, 1974. Zaire. The jungle roared. Foreman was stronger, younger, feared. But Ali had something else and plus a plan. A new kind of war. Rope-a-dope. Ali leaned back into the ropes, absorbed the blows, waited, endured, then unleashed fury. In round 8, Ali stunned the world, knocking out Foreman. The heavyweight title was his again, not by chance, by strategy, by heart. He wasn't just the greatest, he was now immortal. For the next 30 months, Ali stood atop the world, but time, the undefeated opponent, began to show itself. His movement slowed. His body wore down. Still, he fought on, never one to retreat from battle. October 1st, 1975, Manila. Ali versus Frazier III. The thriller in Manila. A 14-round war in the Philippines, so brutal, so unforgiving, it pushed both men beyond the limits of pain. When Frazier's corner called it off, Ali collapsed, whispering, "It was the closest thing to dying I've ever known." Then came the fall. In 1978, Ali lost to Leon Spinks, a rookie with just 7 pro fights. But he clawed his way back, reclaiming the title in a rematch. becoming the first three-time heavyweight champion in history. He should have stopped there, but the fighter in him couldn't say goodbye. 80. Ali versus Larry Holmes. A devastating loss. The punishment was unbearable. 81. Ali versus Trevor Berbick. The final bow. A decision loss. Silence. He left the ring battered, but never beaten. Though his body failed, his spirit never did. I'm the greatest. I said that even before I knew. I was. Muhammad Ali, the poet, the rebel, the king, didn't just box. He inspired, fought, and sacrificed. This wasn't just the story of a champion. It was the journey of a man who refused to kneel, in the ring, or to the world. Muhammad Ali, once the man who floated like a butterfly, now stood at the pinnacle of his greatest challenge yet. The lightning-fast fists that once dazzled the world had slowed. His body, once a flawless instrument of athletic perfection, was no longer capable of the graceful movements that defined him in the ring. But despite it all, his spirit remained unshaken. In 1984, the world was hit with the heart-wrenching news. Muhammad Ali had Parkinson's disease, a degenerative neurological condition that would strip him of his speech, his motor skills, and eventually, his strength. But what Parkinson's couldn't take was his heart, and that would remain constant through his final years. As his illness progressed, Ali's movements grew slower. His once powerful punches, now reduced to slow jabs, could no longer conquer opponents in the ring, but in the real world, Muhammad Ali remained unconquerable. He refused to let his illness define him. Despite his physical challenges, he continued to remain active in the public eye. His smile, his iconic spirit, his will never left him. In 1996, despite his Parkinson's diagnosis, Ali was selected to light the Olympic cauldron at the Summer Olympics in Atlanta. The moment was incredibly emotional. As he stood there with his trembling hands lighting the torch, the world was reminded that greatness does not fade, it only transcends. Ali's life after boxing was marked by something just as powerful as his fights: service. Though his body could no longer take the toll of training camps and world-class boxing matches, his soul remained vibrant and strong. Ali turned his attention to philanthropy, focusing on charity, peace, and helping others. He knew that the fight for a better world was just as important as the fight in the ring. Ali's efforts in the world of philanthropy were vast and far-reaching. He supported countless causes, from the Special Olympics to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, spreading light to children who needed hope, encouragement, and a sense of possibility. But he didn't stop there. He took his efforts overseas. Ali traveled to Mexico, Morocco, and even the war-torn Middle East to provide humanitarian aid, helping the poor and disadvantaged. His selflessness became his true legacy. In 1998, the United Nations recognized his extraordinary humanitarian work by naming him a messenger of peace, an honor that highlighted the incredible impact Ali had beyond the world of boxing. In 2005, Ali returned to his roots, opening the Muhammad Ali Center in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. This was not just a museum for memorabilia, but a place where his vision, courage, and values were honored. Ali once said, "I wanted more than a building to house my memorabilia. I wanted a place that would inspire people to be the best that they could be at whatever they chose to do, and to encourage them to be respectful of one another." The Muhammad Ali Center is not simply about remembering the champion. It's about celebrating the human spirit, inspiring generations to come, reminding them of the strength that lies not in muscle, but in the heart, in humanity, and in service to others. In 2005, Ali received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States, from President George W. Bush. It was a fitting tribute to a man who had done more than entertain the world. He had changed it. And in 2009, Ali was honored with the NAACP President's Award for his lifetime of service to humanity. Ali's influence reached far beyond boxing. He was a beacon for social justice, a symbol of black pride, and a voice of resistance against injustice. Muhammad Ali passed away on June 3, 2016, at the age of 74. His final years were spent battling Parkinson's, but he never allowed the disease to define him. He remained a voice, a fighter, a champion of hope and humanity. Even now, Muhammad Ali lives on, not in the records or trophies, but in the hearts of those whose lives he touched. He will forever be a reminder that true greatness is not measured by the number of wins or titles, but by the number of lives you touch, the good you do, and the courage you show in facing life's biggest challenges. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Muhammad Ali, a man who had once been the embodiment of strength and vitality, spent the last decade of his life in the peaceful surroundings of Paradise Valley, Arizona, a suburb of Phoenix. The legend who had once danced across the boxing ring with grace now faced an entirely different kind of battle, one against his own body. In his later years, Ali's health began to decline due to Parkinson's disease, a condition that he had announced he was suffering from in 1984. In the years leading up to his passing, Ali underwent surgery for spinal stenosis, a painful condition that narrows the spinal canal and presses on the nerves, severely limiting his ability to move and communicate. The disease made daily life difficult, but his spirit never wavered. His health continued to deteriorate, and in early 2015, he was hospitalized for pneumonia and also suffered from a severe urinary tract infection. Despite these hardships, Ali remained a fighter to the very end. Finally, on June 3, 2016, after a long struggle with respiratory issues, Ali passed away in Scottsdale, Arizona, at the age of 74. The world had lost a true icon, a man whose impact stretched far beyond the boxing ring. Muhammad Ali had long planned his funeral and memorial service, ensuring that it would be inclusive, allowing as many people as possible to pay their respects. His family honored these wishes, and the event unfolded over the course of 3 days, in Louisville, Kentucky, Ali's hometown. The memorial began with an I Am Ali Public Arts Festival, where the city of Louisville sponsored educational and entertainment offerings in his honor. There was also an Islamic prayer program reflecting the spiritual journey that had deeply influenced Ali's life. The funeral procession was a powerful and emotional moment. It traveled 20 miles through the streets of Louisville, passing Ali's childhood home, his high school, and the boxing gym where his career began. The procession ended along Ali Boulevard, where thousands of fans, many of whom had followed his journey for decades, tossed flowers onto his hearse and cheered his name. The heartfelt tribute from the people who loved him was an enduring testament to his profound influence on the world. The culmination of Ali's memorial service took place at the KFC Yum Center Arena, with nearly 20,000 people in attendance. The service was a celebration of his extraordinary life, filled with speeches from leaders of various faiths and dignitaries. Speakers included Atala Shabazz, the daughter of Malcolm X, who spoke about Ali's enduring commitment to social justice, and Bryant Gumbel, who reflected on his impact as a public figure. Former President Bill Clinton gave a poignant speech, praising Ali's personal growth and empowerment. "I think he decided," Clinton said, before he could possibly have worked it all out, that he would not ever be disempowered. He decided that not his race, nor his place, the expectations of others, positive, negative, or otherwise, would strip from him the power to write his own story. Comedian Billy Crystal, who had befriended Ali in his early days as a struggling comedian, spoke of how Ali had become a silent messenger for peace. "He taught us that life is best when you build bridges between people, not walls," Crystal said, capturing the essence of Ali's character and philosophy. The emotional farewell included pallbearers who represented some of the most significant figures in Ali's life and career. Will Smith, who portrayed Ali in the 2001 biopic, and boxing legends Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, who carried the coffin of the man they called the greatest. Ali was buried at Cave Hill National Cemetery in Louisville, where fans could visit and pay homage to the man who had inspired so many. Even after his death, Ali's legacy continues to grow. He is remembered not just as a boxing champion, but as a global ambassador for peace, social justice, and empowerment. Ali's courage to speak his mind and challenge the status quo made him an icon in every sense of the word. Through his activism, his ability to transcend racial and social divides, and his unwavering faith in humanity, Ali remains a shining example of how to live with purpose, dignity, and resilience. His words, his actions, and his fight against injustice will continue to inspire generations to come. I set out on a journey of love, seeking truth, peace, and understanding. I am still learning.